You may remember a few months ago, Governor Hochul of New York said any clowns that show up to these Trump rallies, of course, this was pre-assassination attempt, Trump rallies, they're just a bunch of clowns that are showing up in our state. Our state will never support this. And this situation happens, and all of a sudden you guys started putting up the clown emojis. It was very fun. We haven't done it in a while, but I'm going to encourage you right now. You know what? I think it's time, because you look at what this is, which is really just media distraction, telling you, or really not focusing on the truth that's happening right now. Again, these are confirmed reports. And you may have a problem with some of these confirmed reports. You may have a problem with the way Russia was set up last time. But as Will said, Russia was everywhere. And I encourage you, by the way, I encourage everyone to make sure that you're being careful on social media. When you're in a Facebook group, maybe look who the origin is, look what the admins are, see if they're real people, even know who you're commenting back and forth with. Sometimes it's bots, sometimes it's people in Iran, or people who are paid for by organizations that are paid for by those kind of governments.
That's right. And there's a couple other highlights I want to point to this Office of Director of National Intelligence briefing that was put out. And they were doing this as, we're now under 100 days from the election. So they were kind of their 100 days till election briefing on foreign influence. But one thing that's also in this report is they highlight three main foreign powers whose influencing could play into the election. And they are Russia, China, and Iran. We've been talking about the Iran one, mainly because it's so interesting to see the glaring hole in the coverage of Iran trying to harm a specific candidate. And that's what they're talking about. They're talking about Iran specifically trying to harm the candidacy of Donald Trump. But you also see a blurb on Russia, and they say that Russia remains the predominant threat to the U.S. elections. Moscow continues to use a broad stable of influence actors and tactics and is working to better hide its hand, enhance its reach, and create content that resonates more with U.S. audiences. Yeah. Then wait, one more here.
I like that last sentence, because it's like that is the most influencer content creator thing. We're just making content to try to resonate more with our audience.
They're watching YouTube videos on how to get a little bit better, see what you want.
I've said that sentence, and I don't run a government, but I've said that, when we're like, what topic are we going to do? Well, we want to make sure our content resonates more with our viewers, and that is part of content creation. It's part of this. But when essentially the BRICS nations are now creating that content and influencing, like I said, in different ways, because it still could be Russia, but we know these are all kind of one and the same.
Well, and it says these actors are seeking to back a presidential candidate, in addition to influencing congressional elections, undermine the public confidence in the electoral process, and exacerbate socio-political divisions. Here's the problem.
I use those words less.
Yeah, 100% true.
The content creation I do use, but that part I don't say quite as much. But it is that moment where you have to be very clear-headed on what you're looking at and who you're influenced by.
Well, and here's the bigger problem, though, is that they're still going to push this Russia narrative. And don't be surprised if you start to see the left-leaning outlets start to pick up on this one more and try to push it again, especially if the polling starts to trend against them again. Oh, looks like Russia's up to their old tricks. Is there more collusion? And we hear that narrative again. But here's the problem with this. One, Putin publicly said that he prefers Biden to Trump because Biden was predictable.
Now that Biden's gone, scared of him. Yeah.
As Rick has said, Kamala Harris, much more predictable than Biden. But at the end of the day, you saw yesterday a sweetheart deal for Russia, a prisoner swap. We got Americans back, but they got aggressive criminals, hitmen. Rick talked about that as well, about the man that assassinated someone in Germany that was a operative from Russia. That is one of the people, just a mile away from the U.S. Embassy where Rick was stationed when this happened. That is one of the people that Russia got back. If the Russians truly wanted Donald Trump back in the White House, why would they not have waited on this deal? Why would they care to give a PR national security win to the Biden-Harris administration while Kamala Harris is trying to strengthen her international chops? That is why she had that meeting with Bibi Netanyahu. It is why she has been out there giving foreign policy speeches. And now they have another thing to put on their resume of look at what we accomplished less than 100 days from an election. If this were true, because I do question some of the intelligence from our intelligence agencies when they point to this and keep saying, here's the narrative, here's the line, we're doing it again, when at the end of the day, the Russians are making sweetheart deals with the Biden administration. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't pass the smell test. This is, once again, what they are going to put out there. And they say it is the most predominant threat to U.S. elections, but they're going to probably, especially in the media, hide the Iran threat, which makes a lot of sense. You understand. Yeah, they have an assassination bounty out on President Trump, on Secretary Mike Pompeo, because of the assassination of Soleimani. They made things a lot tougher for the Iranians to fund their proxy terror wars during that administration. Of course they don't want him back. Now that they're flush with cash because the Biden administration pulled back on sanctions, tried to get in that terrible nuclear deal again, they are able to run these operations. They can spend this money to have a vast web of online personas and propaganda mills to spread disinformation. That wouldn't have happened under the Trump administration because they were broke.
Yeah, exactly. And they wouldn't happen. The hostage dealings wouldn't happen. These are nervous countries seeing what's happening right now and trying to figure out, play some of their old hits. Get involved in these elections, and getting involved in a way that, honestly, the American people need to keep their eyes very open. I think this is incredibly important. You may have a liberal friend in your life, as a lot of us do, and they start spewing some of these talking points, and then you realize, oh, they all have the same talking point. Like I said, we said the Olympics over the weekend. All of a sudden, it went from it wasn't the Last Supper. It was, everyone knows, you Christians. Everyone knows
everyone's real versed on Dionysus.
On the Dionysus, on the Feast of Dionysus. Everyone knows this. Of course. How could you take that Smurf person and not think that this was something we all know? No, of course. Those become talking points. And where do those come from? Now, I don't know about that one specifically, but there's a reason they all take fire and they get spread. And that is because they are not only gaslighting you, they are coming up with narratives that break the conservative Christian point of view, and then have people start questioning it. And the problem is you see too many people who buy into it. It's not even just liberals. It's people who just want to buy into what they see on social media, and they can trust it because some random friend said that it was the Feast of Dionysus. Some random friend said this was Russia propaganda. Then all of a sudden, it starts spinning. These kind of broadcasts, each and every day. The reason we do this show, we are not ad-supported. We are supported only by people like you who know your voice needs to get out there. And we're not doing it behind a paywall. Okay, there's a lot of great conservative outlets out there, a lot of great outlets that are spreading a lot of interesting information. I think they have some very intelligent hosts, but a lot of them are doing it behind a paywall. You got to spend whatever for your subscription, and then you're back behind there. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it can become an echo chamber. What we're proud of is we're 400,000 plus strong on YouTube. We're 200,000 plus strong on Rumble. We're influencing culture. You want to know how your kids are getting their news? My son was talking to me yesterday about the BRICS nations, okay? He's 11. Why does he know about this? It's not from his school, great school, but it's not from the school. It is from YouTube. So we have to make sure we are there and that we can reach an audience. So I encourage you, it always does really well for us. Not only do you want to support the work of the ACLJ by making your donation, and donations are doubled right now during our Life and Liberty Drive for August, and we got some great stuff coming up next week. Yeah, we're giving you a little bit of a breather for that because I know we hit you hard for the last few days, but it's still open. You can still be a part of the Life and Liberty Drive right now at aclj.org.